there, adventurers! Welcome to Benji Travel, where we bring you thrilling explorations and essential travel tips. Today, we're diving into the world of corruption as we uncover the top 20 most corrupt countries. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to join our adventures. Let's uncover the truth together. Number 20. South Sudan. Corruption in South Sudan is pervasive, with the military controlling the economy and determining spending priorities. Lack of transparency and accountability in government expenditures has led to widespread mismanagement of funds. Money laundering is rampant, with the elite exploiting the country's fragile economy for personal gain. Corruption undermines efforts to promote stability and development in the country. Number 19. Syria. Corruption in Syria is widespread, with bribery commonplace in the military and healthcare sectors. Efforts to combat corruption have been hampered by the lack of accountability and transparency within government institutions. The ongoing conflict has exacerbated corruption, with officials exploiting their positions for personal gain. Number 18. Somalia. Insecurity and weak governance in Somalia have created an environment ripe for corruption. Citizens are forced to align with violent groups for protection, further undermining the rule of law. Corruption within the military exacerbates security challenges, with funds intended for troop salaries often misappropriated. Money laundering is also prevalent, further destabilizing the fragile economy. Number 17. Venezuela. Corruption in Venezuela is exacerbated by restrictions on freedom of speech and press, with journalists facing harassment and censorship for reporting on government activities. Drug trafficking is prevalent, with government officials implicated in the trade. Corruption permeates all levels of society, undermining democratic institutions and exacerbating economic instability. Number 16. Yemen. Corruption in Yemen is rampant, particularly in the oil sector, where foreign investors face unfair competition from state-owned enterprises. Rebel groups exploit oil companies by imposing arbitrary taxes and extorting payments. Bribery is also widespread in the tax sector, with officials demanding bribes in exchange for favorable treatment and tax evasion. Number 15. North Korea. In North Korea is pervasive, with citizens required to pay bribes for access to basic necessities and services. The government tightly controls access to foreign media, imposing fines and penalties on those caught accessing unauthorized information. Bribery is common in the military, where officers often demand payments for favorable treatment and privileges. Number 14. Afghanistan. Corruption in Afghanistan is exacerbated by disparities in civil rights between urban and rural areas. While urban centers enjoy greater freedom of expression, rural communities face intimidation and coercion. The tax department is notorious for demanding unofficial taxes from businesses, and irregular payments to tax officials are common. Corruption within government institutions hampers efforts to combat poverty and promote development. Number 13. Libya. Corruption in Libya is widespread, particularly within the police force, where officers frequently engage in extortion and abuse of power. Weak legal institutions and lack of accountability enable corrupt practices to go unchecked, undermining public trust in the government. Bribery is rampant in public services, further eroding confidence in the state's ability to deliver basic services. Number 12. Equatorial Guinea. Corruption in Equatorial Guinea dates back to the 1980s, when land seized from the Spanish was distributed among a select group of individuals. This elite group, known as the Mongomo Group, controls the country's vast natural resources, enriching themselves at the expense of the population. Family ties dominate access to resources, perpetuating inequality and undermining efforts to combat corruption. Number 11. Turkmenistan. corruption in Turkmenistan is pervasive, particularly in the construction sector, where inflated costs and bribery are commonplace. Property rights are poorly protected, and bribery is necessary to secure government contracts. Close ties to the president often determine access to lucrative opportunities, perpetuating a culture of corruption and cronyism. Number 10. Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. The DRC has a long history of corruption, with kleptocratic regimes exploiting the country's vast natural resources for personal gain. Political instability and weak institutions have allowed corrupt practices to thrive, leading to widespread poverty and inequality. Despite efforts to combat corruption, entrenched interests continue to obstruct meaningful reform. Number 9. Burundi. Neo-patrimonialism and tribalism fuel corruption in Burundi, with state resources used to secure loyalty and support from specific ethnic groups. This patronage system stifles competition and perpetuates inequality, hindering economic development and exacerbating social tensions. Moreover, corruption within the judiciary undermines the rule of law and erodes public trust in the government. Number 8. Sudan. Corruption in Sudan is exacerbated by censorship and repression of journalists, limiting freedom of expression and hindering efforts to expose corruption. The government's tight control over the media suppresses dissent and perpetuates a culture of impunity among corrupt officials. Additionally, electoral fraud and vote buying undermine the democratic process, further entrenching corruption in the country. Number 7. Nicaragua. Corruption within the Customs Department enables the smuggling of illegal goods and undermines regulatory efforts. Customs officials often accept bribes to facilitate the entry of substandard goods into the country, compromising public safety. Moreover, corruption extends to the exploitation of natural resources, with government officials complicit in illegal logging and mining activities. Number 6. Haiti. Political cronyism and mismanagement of funds have long plagued Haiti, diverting crucial resources away from development projects. The earthquake relief efforts in 2010 were marred by allegations of corruption, with officials accused of embezzling funds intended for rebuilding efforts. Additionally, lack of transparency and accountability within the government perpetuates corruption at all levels. Number 5. Comoros. Passport sales scandals and political repression characterize corruption in Comoros. The government's citizenship by investment program has been exploited for personal gain, with proceeds intended for development siphoned off by corrupt officials. Furthermore, the military is often used to suppress political dissent, consolidating power and enabling further corruption. Number 4. Chad. Corruption in Chad is pervasive, particularly within the security forces, where officers frequently engage in unlawful activities with impunity. Ethnic favoritism exacerbates corruption in public services, as individuals with connections to those in power secure employment through bribery. Additionally, weak enforcement of anti-corruption laws allows corrupt practices to flourish unchecked. Number 3. Guinea-Bissau. Drug trafficking serves as a major driver of corruption in Guinea-Bissau, with political and military leaders often complicit in facilitating the illegal trade. The country's judiciary lacks independence, hampering efforts to prosecute corrupt officials. Moreover, rampant nepotism and bribery further undermine the rule of law and exacerbate corruption in public services. Number 2. Congo. Corruption permeates every sector in Congo, with a culture of impunity allowing public officials to engage in corrupt practices without consequence. Despite laws against corruption, enforcement is weak, particularly when it comes to holding family members of officials and political parties accountable. This lack of accountability perpetuates corruption throughout the country. Number 1. Eritrea. Corruption in Eritrea is fueled by an intense concentration of power, with President Isaias Afwerki holding authoritarian control since 1993, undermining the country's constitutional separation of powers. The business community is closely tied to the government, fostering a culture of cronyism and nepotism. We're eager to hear your thoughts on the top 20 list. Feel free to comment if you have different opinions, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated on our latest adventures. Thanks for watching, and until next time.